Before Suzanne Collins gave Hunger Games fans the story of Hamish Abernathy's games in Sunrise on the Reaping, she had already begun expanding the universe with the prequel novel The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which features new characters like Lucy Greybeard and Sejanus Plinth. These new characters are not referenced in the original trilogy, but they are important to understanding the wider scope of Katniss' story and the revolution in Panem as a whole. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is set during the 10th Hunger Games. The games are still a fresh invention of the capital, and some of the children participating are even old enough to remember the first rebellion and its consequences. The novel and the movie are not set up the same way as Katniss' original trip to the arena, as just as much of the story is set outside of the games as within them. As a result, the audience gets to know characters who are not the tributes just as well as those fighting for their lives. Who is Sejanus Plinth? Sejanus Plinth is a District 2 mentor. Marcus and Sejanus sitting at a table in the Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes allows Hunger Games fans to see how early iterations of the games worked. They were not nearly the spectacle they were in Katniss' time, and did not even have the setup of mentors from an existing district helping the new tributes in the games. That is where Sejanus Plinth enters the story. Sejanus Plinth is a member of the wealthy Plinth family. The family is originally from District 2 and made their money in weapons manufacturing during the First Rebellion. Because of their development of weapons for the capital, which helped to seemingly destroy District 13, the Plinth family is granted a rare opportunity to leave District 2. In the Hunger Games franchise, the districts are highly segregated with each one focused on a different industry. The further away from the capital the districts get, the less financial resources they have, and the more desperate the population is. Because the Plinths are from District 2, they would not have been suffering the same way those living in District 12 are to begin with. Being invited to live and work in the capital, however, is almost unheard of because the capital is made up of the wealthiest families and the elite of the citizens. Sejanus becomes a student at the prestigious academy and befriends Coriolanus Snow, future president of Panem and notorious villain to the fans. Unlike Snow, whom he firmly believes is his best friend, Plinth does not aspire to climb the social or political ranks in the capital. Instead, he still has pride in the district he comes from and holds a lot of survivor's guilt from his family's involvement in the war. When it is announced that Academy students will compete for a prize by mentoring the Hunger Games tributes, Sejanus ends up with a tribute from his former district and genuinely wants to help him. He also, however, understands that if he helps the tribute to win, he is effectively condemning the other 23 kids to die. That makes Sejanus Plinth a very conflicted character throughout much of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. When his tribute escapes, he is happy that he might get the chance to survive, but when he is caught and made a spectacle of in the arena, Sejanus fights to give him a proper burial and calls out those in charge of the games. Sejanus Plinth might hold a lot of guilt, but he is one of the only characters to openly criticize the Hunger Games and the capital, which does not go well for him. What happens to Sejanus Plinth? Sejanus Plinth ends up in District 12. During the 10th Hunger Games, the tribute that Plinth was supposed to mentor is placed on display in the arena after his escape. Plinth, believing that his former classmate deserves more than being displayed as a warning, decides to sneak into the arena and attempt to get his body for a proper burial. Snow is sent in to retrieve him, which leads to an altercation between the two and some of the tributes. In the movie, Plinth does not suffer consequences for this, but in the novel, it is this act of defiance against the capital that has Plinth forced to become a peacekeeper in District 12 with Snow, who is also being punished for cheating to help Lucy Gray win. While in District 12, Sejanus Plinth is seen openly talking with rebels who are against the capital. He uses his family's wealth and his new peacekeeper connections to help Lucy Gray's ex-boyfriend plan an uprising. When Snow finds out, he tricks Plinth into admitting his involvement while a Mockingjay records his words. Snow sends the bird back to the capital to Dr. Gall, and Plinth's essential confession sees him condemned to death in District 12. He is executed for his treason. Why Sejanus Plinth is important to the Hunger Games franchise. Sejanus Plinth exemplifies some of the franchise themes. Sejanus, Josh Andres Rivera, and Snow, Tom Blythe, are walking together in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Sejanus Plinth might be a minor character in the grand scheme of the Hunger Games franchise, but the movie pushes him into more of a spotlight role, and rightly so. His place in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is an important one. He is in direct contrast to someone like Coriolanus Snow, representing two very different ideologies in the franchise. Snow is an example of someone who sees taking power for himself and making everyone else his subjects as the only way he can survive in a society set up like Panem that has already caused his own family so much suffering. Plinth, on the other hand, does not believe the wealthy should hold all the power. He believes the people should, and he is determined to make up for the actions of his family and help the people. They are at opposite ends of reactions to the control of the capital, and their own reactions to their circumstances demonstrate just how a handful of people can remain in control of a larger group for decades. Sejanus Plinth's death demonstrates how a second rebellion was always in the cards for the franchise. Just 10 years after the unification of Panem, the cruelty of the capital was on full display, and the citizens of the districts were restless. Sejanus Plinth's death is made even more tragic and important when a few changes from the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes book are taken into account as well. How Sejanus Plinth's story plays out differently. The movie makes Plinth more tragic. Sejanus Plinth in front of the Hunger Games monitors upset in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. The approach to Sejanus Plinth's place in Coriolanus Snow's story is different on screen than it is on the page. In the novel, Snow's own thought process reveals that he was never truly friends with Plinth. Plinth sees himself as Snow's best friend because Snow is his only classmate at the academy who does not ridicule Plinth for his family originally coming from a district instead of the capital. Plinth sees it as kindness, but Snow simply does not think Plinth is worth his time. That changes when Snow understands that he can manipulate Sejanus Plinth and those around him while they are all mentors in the games. He uses the perceived friendship to get what he wants from them and gets himself one step closer to the Plinth Prize, because it is Sejanus Plinth's father who shares his fortune with academy students to keep favor with the capital.